You do interviews and you do something that will forever perhaps live on in your memory, and this is one such man. I've watched him, covered him, written about him, idolized him, celebrated him, and now to do this interview when he's in India, once again as the brand ambassador of the Vedanta Delhi Half Marathon, which I have the privilege of hosting for the 7th year this year. Carl, you've been an absolute legend. How is it to be Carl Lewis, recognized, celebrated, around the world? What is the responsibility that you carry for being Carl Lewis?
Well, that's an interesting question to frame it in the responsibility. But basically, I don't know another life. And so everything happened for me so young. I set my first world record at 19. And so I've been a public figure my entire adult life. So it's challenging, obviously. I can't and just cannot do a lot of the things that everyone else can do. Your life is definitely different, but I wouldn't change it. So I had a wonderful life and doing wonderful things, and right now it opens opportunities to do things I never could have imagined, like travel and experience things. So it's been a wonderful life.
We are doing this interview one day after World Mental Health Day. In your career, you've seen the highs, you've seen the lows, you've seen challenges, you've won gold medals, you've fought through. The longevity speaks for itself. For aspiring athletes who have, who will not be perhaps Carl Lewis, who will also experience failure, how does a Carl Lewis deal with adversity?
Well, the bottom line is that I think that we have to start with, or in terms of how it works with me, we have to start with in the beginning about teaching people how to deal with adversity. See, I think the challenge is now in society, we try to avoid adversity. And then when it happens, we're not prepared to handle it. So for me, our parents made us independent. I remember going to kindergarten my first day. For 2 or 3 days beforehand, my parents walked us to school, walked us back, walked us to school, walked us back. And then the first day of kindergarten, they let us walk by ourselves. So we understood responsibility, and we learned that at an early age. And they gave us chores and things to do. We were young, so we didn't feel like we had a space where I couldn't handle it. And then from an athletic standpoint, I realized very early, because for me, I was kind of a late bloomer, so everyone doesn't win. And everyone is going to have a great day. You have to get back and get better and work harder. So I think everything that we do is based on some level of preparation. Mm-hmm. Either we prepare to do it or we prepare not to do it.
What did sport teach you, Carl? I mean, you just alluded to something that to do it, not do it. What did sport teach you? For example, with me, when I speak to someone like an Abhinav Bindra, he tells me sport taught him how to lose. In India, Sachin Tendulkar, sport taught him how to lose. What did sport teach Carl Lewis?
Well, for me, it taught me life's lessons, and it didn't teach me about winning or losing at all. What it taught me about is people. When I was young and I was an underdeveloped kid and I wasn't performing that well and I was not winning, I saw people in front of me, how they acted. And then when I started winning, I saw how people didn't forget that when I saw people losing. So the bottom line, it taught me a lot about people, how to treat people, how you would like to be treated, how to respect, how to work hard. I mean, all these things, and winning, losing, and all that stuff was just a consequence of it.
In your case, when I see your career, I see current sprinters, even in the last decade or so, 100, 200, 4 into 100, plus the long jump. I mean, that versatility is not something I've seen in anyone. I mean, I've covered 5-6 Olympic Games myself. That sort of distinguishes Carl Lewis, and the longevity. How was that possible?
Well, first of all, the orders would be different. So it's long jump, 100, 200, relay. And so just that order is the reason why we're not seeing it anymore. Because people, they come up, they're long jumpers, and they look at the long jump as just go down and jump far. Well, the long jump is extremely difficult, probably the most difficult event in all of track and field. So people don't realize it, and as they get older and they get more developed, then they realize how hard it is, and they always stop. Sprinters, hurdlers, they always stop. They stop because it's not the easiest event. So if you're a sprinter, and I always said this, if the long jump was on a scale of 1 to 10, if a long jump was a 10, 100 meters is a 4. And I think the 200 is probably a 3.5. They're not even close to in terms of difficulty. So that's really why we're not in a society where we teach people to do hard things. And we always reward avoiding the tough thing, because you can still get that reward. And so I think that I don't think we'll ever see a Jesse Owens again, or what I accomplished. We're not going to see it again, ever. Because people are just not being raised to take on the tough challenges. And when they get really tough, they bail out and go the easy way.
You are in India, and I can't not ask this. I mean, when we watched you win gold medal after gold medal, we never thought we'll win one in athletics. Then comes Neeraj Chopra, redefining the whole contour. If you followed him, can there be more? I mean, he's like a breath of fresh air in our whole athletic scene. If you followed him, a word on that?
Yeah, there should be more. Basically, what I think India, and not just India, but other countries are missing, is the infrastructure with the youth. As we see now, look at the explosion of Africa. Africa started probably in the 1970s getting access to running all around the world. Some of it's because athletes were going to college in the United States or whatever. But they started it, and now here we are 40 years later, almost 50 years later. Look at Africa. They're successful from the sprints all the way up to the marathon, and they're getting better in the field events. So I think what India needs to do as a country is focus on dedicating our energy into the youth, get youth going. And another thing we have is the American colleges, the American college system. So you have a wonderful youth program, AAU, in the United States, which has been around over 100 years. And then they go to college. So you're really taking kids from 5 years old all the way to 21 or 22 years old, giving them a chance to excel. Well, if you don't have a program for those youth, and then when they get to college age, when you really start to develop, there's no program for that, well, then it's not going to be successful. They have to decide to commit to that area. Now, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that there is a finalist in 100, 200, 400, 800, 5, 10, marathon, long jump, everything. Because there are enough people here to do that. And the talent is here. We just haven't seen the overall commitment to really establishing what we're going to do with our young people, supporting our young people, putting together programs where they can perform, and then develop as they get older, and then develop them all the way through colleges.
Last three questions. One, America's hosting the 2028 games. India is about to bid for the 2036 games. Do you think, data shows that hosting an Olympic Games fundamentally transforms the sportscape? Medals go up, awareness goes up. Would you say that we are doing right? The Olympic Games hasn't come to the developing world or the global south yet. Will it be a good step for India to be able to put forward a solid bid?
Well, I would flip it. Instead of worry about what's happened, I think that we should look forward. And I think India would be a fabulous place. Number one, it would help from a sports standpoint. It would help on a global stage. It would help with infrastructure, because you're going to have to build stadiums, you're going to have to build train systems and transportation. All these kinds of things happen when the Olympics comes to your country. Now, there'll be people, of course, that'll say, oh, we're wasting money, we're wasting this, we're wasting that. Well, sometimes you have to kickstart new ideas. And I think it would be a fabulous thing. I think India would do an incredible job. I think it would be fabulous to have it here. And I really would support a bid in 2036. It would be great for the global community, sports community. It would be great for this country, and especially the youth and the young people that compete in sports here in India.
You have some incredible duels with some great athletes. Mike Powell, 895, 891, winning the gold, whether it's sprint with multiple people. Any one particular race that Carl Lewis opens his eyes and said, I did it, I was there, I won it, that still lingers on in your memory?
Well, that's a great way to look at it. I think for me, it's not really the winning, it's the race, the type of race I've run. I mean, the best, most public race, obviously, is 1991 in Tokyo. But winning the Olympic Games was probably the most emotional race. But the best race I ever ran was the Olympic trials in 1984. That was the actual best race I ever ran, technically, in the 100 meters. So it's all a little different. And I look at it more of how close is that race to perfection, as opposed to what did I accomplish and what did I get from it.
Final question. If there is ever an opportunity to come and do something for Indian sport in a longer term possibility, will Carl Lewis consider that? Does India attract him? The culture, the food, everything, and do you see potential here? If the government of India, the sports authority, whatever, if there is a possibility on the table, will you ever consider?
Well, it's interesting. About almost 20 years ago, we were talking to some people about doing some things here in India. I think the issue is focusing on areas where you can develop. For a while now, it's been Africa, and the talk has been there. Now we're moving to new areas. So I think it was not only myself, because I would love to help, I'd love to support, but I think the global community would too. There are a lot of people, because there's so much going on. The reality is that America is fading. That's just the reality, politically, socially, globally. We're fading. Now, I'm not talking about athletics. I'm just talking about politically. So it is exciting for people. India is on the rise, and think about it. There are probably millions of people that never would have considered moving out of the country, the United States. And people that considered moving there are considering going other places. So I think the excitement is where the new places are. Unfortunately, and fortunately, China understands that. Africa, it's exciting what those 52 countries are now doing. They're consolidating and ending colonialism and keeping their resources there. So they're going to be a financial, economic powerhouse in the future. India, obviously, is now the largest country in the world. It's incredible for me, who came here in 1989, to see the change in the economy. You know, in the 1990s, I went to China. In 1989, I came here, and just to see the difference. They're not developing countries. They're developed countries that are economic powerhouses. They're going to be leading the future of the economy. Africa, and all of the 52 countries in Africa. I see India, I see China. These countries are going to be the future of the economy. America is really on a sliding scale now.
Fantastic, as always, to talk to Carl Lewis. I mean, you could see the vision, the passion, the commitment the man brings to the fore. It's not about his gold medals. It's about the legacy that he has left behind, and that enriches our sporting world. Hopefully, at some point in time, we will have our own version. We will have Carl back in India doing something more fundamental. But for the moment, thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.